Hello, I'm Chris Barker, and you're with MusicRadar.com, and I'm here with Nile Rodgers at the Red Bull Music Academy in Madrid. Hello, Nile.
Hey, Chris, what's up, man?
I'm very good, man. Well, I've just sat through an amazing lecture that people can see on the website as well. But first thing I'd like to talk about is on the website recently we ran a poll, 25 greatest bass lines of all time, as voted for and nominated for by the readers of our website.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the controversy.
I already know what that's going to be.
So, the controversy is Chic, Good Times,
Uh-huh.
great bass line, came number 14. I think it was number 14. And at number 3, Queen's Another One Bites the Dust. Now, we'd like to know your thoughts on this, and maybe tell us about your memories of when you first heard that for the first time.
Well, I heard that for the first time right now.
No, I mean when you first heard Another One Bites the Dust.
I can't remember when I first heard Another One Bites the Dust, but I certainly knew it was in the works and coming, and I certainly had no problem with Another One Bites the Dust. I mean, I love it. John Deacon and I were hanging out together, like partying the night before I did Good Times. But it is funny. I mean, I don't think it's odd that Another One Bites the Dust would rank higher than Good Times, and I'll tell you why. If you just think about it culturally, certainly more people are aware of Queen than Chic, right? And I would imagine, and I'm not positive, but probably Another One Bites the Dust may have sold more singles than Good Times, and probably the album that it's on is bigger than Risque. And let me just say this: Another One Bites the Dust is Queen's biggest single. It's bigger than Bohemian Rhapsody. It's bigger than any of their other songs. So that's like their biggest act, and Queen is a much bigger act than Chic. So it would make sense.
But then what the Good Times bass line went on to achieve in other records, as we heard earlier, I mean, it does seem a bit strange that all of those influences, that it's lower down the list, would you not say?
Well, in other words, it's just ironic because Another One Bites the Dust obviously is homage to Good Times. In other words, Good Times was first. A matter of fact, here's an interesting fact that most people don't know, that exactly 1 year to the day that Good Times was number one, a year later, Another One Bites the Dust was number one. So after we did Good Times, there was a massive amount of records that came where the bass line was similar or in the style of or paid homage to. Another One Bites the Dust. Radio Clash had the vibe. Radio Clash even had the guitar feel. Bounce Rock Roll Skate by Fawn Mason. And of course the biggest of all time, Rapper's Delight.
So maybe you could tell us some of what would be in your top 10 favourite bass lines of all time. Any artists over the years. I mean, obviously working with Bernard, you've amazing,
Right.
amazing. You've got, you must have 100 ones that he's played. But tell us some about your favourite bass lines.
It's funny, as great as Good Times is, and that's really one of my favorites. We did another song called My Forbidden Lover, and our very first song that we ever recorded, Everybody Dance. Those two bass lines are unbelievable. My Forbidden Lover, because like Good Times, it's a clever sort of bass line, but Everybody Dance, nobody but Bernard can play that. There's no one else who can play Everybody Dance. So almost on that merit alone, it's incredible because it's just this unique, one-of-a-kind performance that exists solely as its own wonderful thing. You can play the bass line to Another One Bites the Dust. You can play the bass line to Good Times. You can even play the bass line to My Forbidden Lover. You can't play the bass line to Everybody Dance. No one can, except for Bernard.
So, I mean, from other artists as well. I mean, do you think there's anybody else that came close to that funkiness that he got in performances, those one-off performances, like you say?
In my opinion, no one can play like that. But that sounds really peculiar to me because that's like me saying, well, that's the best thing ever, and I don't really mean it like that. I just mean for my style and what makes me feel happy. It's superlative. It just fits me. I mean, look, I've played with a gazillion bass players, all of them amazing. I only play with amazing musicians. I remember one night jamming with John Entwistle from The Who. I couldn't believe how he played bass. I mean, I'd listened to Who records forever, but it wasn't the bass playing that stood out to me until I was playing with him, and then we were just jamming. All of a sudden, we weren't playing The Who, we weren't playing Chic. We were just two musicians playing, and all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh wow!" Now I know why John Entwistle is so famous. Same thing. I was involved in the Led Zeppelin sort of reunion when they came and they played at Wembley, and the band sort of wanted me to represent them in interviews because they didn't want to overshadow the fact that it really wasn't the Led Zeppelin reunion. It was a tribute to Ahmet Ertegun. So that's why they didn't do any interviews, and I did all the interviews. And when I was listening to them play, I forgot how much of a genius John Paul Jones was when it came to handling the bass and the low end with Led Zeppelin. It was like, oh my God, you forget about it because what happens is that in pop culture, when time starts to pass, the stuff that's more modern that you remember has more of an impact on you. But you forget that. I mean, listen to the bass line when Led Zeppelin plays, Lemon Song, and they go on the killing floor for a minute, and it's just like, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just top flight bass playing. But then you think about all the other. I mean, this is one of those things where it really is governed by your taste. Yeah. You know what I mean? Once you get into that level, and I say this a lot, once you get into that upper stratosphere of those bass players who breathe that rarefied air, I mean, can anybody tell me that there's anything ever more ridiculous than Jaco Pastorius playing Teen Town? It's like the most ridiculous thing in the world. There's nothing on that level.
You touched on saying about modern elements, being more sort of represented now. I mean, we heard a lot about retrospective of your career, I mean, on the autobiography and stuff. And maybe we can talk a little bit about Nile Rodgers, the modern producer, and who do you listen to at the moment? I mean, who excites you? Musicians, bands, producers, and maybe technology and studio and working in studios now. Big question, I know, but the modern you.
The modern me. Okay, so the modern me strives to be the best example of the old me that I can be. So I use all of the gear to help me be the freshest, best Nile Rodgers ever. And that means that all I want to do is be able to play and be able to think with the same type of innovative brain that I've always had. So when I make records currently, so who do I listen to? Okay, I listen to Janelle Monáe a lot. I met her a year ago when we were on a tour, and we both spoke together, and within minutes we just realized that like we're kindred spirits. I've never met Bruno Mars, but when I saw his performance on the Grammys last year, and I listened to his records and I listened to his growth, I think to myself, you know what? Pop music is in pretty good hands. It's going to be all right.
Are these artists though that you wouldn't like to get? I mean, would you ever like to get in the studio with Bruno Mars? Would that be a fit or?
See, the interesting thing is that being in the recording studio with people nowadays it's not super exciting to me. One, because I don't understand the current record business. Like when I was younger, I knew what I was fighting, because to me it's always a fight, and I think that's a good thing. It should be me against the record company, because I should be doing something that's so innovative that they don't know what to do. They need to go and have meetings and go, what the hell is this guy doing? In other words, if they hear it and they go, great, it sounds like Bruno Mars,
you start to panic.
Then I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Like there have been 2 times in my life that I've had spine tingling terror, and both times I'm only talking about when it comes to music. And both times were when record executives told me they loved my records. Now, these are the same record execs that have always hated my records, and they were the biggest records of their careers. The biggest records of not only my career, but of their careers as record executives. In other words, they never touched records that sold more than mine, and they hated them. And when they finally told me that they liked, I remember this guy said to me, finally, you made a record that I like right away. And I went, oh, dear God, are we in trouble now? I was right, too.
Do you think you're maybe a bit of a victim of your own success now, though, that everybody finally does trust you, and that's kind of a bit strange for you because you've always had that fight, and maybe now they go, Nile Rodgers does make hits, let him do it, and you want that little argumentative spark in the execs.
Well, see, now you're really wrong because no one trusts me. It's not like I'm not really involved in the current pop music business. So, and quite frankly, I'm rather thankful for that. I've written and produced enough records that my life is going to stay the same forever, thank God. And the cool thing about today's world is because of sampling and reuse, and there are more films being made that use my songs. Matter of fact, I can't even keep track of it now. So the only ones that we usually find out about, or the ones that the public recognizes, are the really big hits. But I do licensing deals for songs all year long, just one film after the next, and it doesn't seem like people grow tired of it, because every now and then I'll get a license for something that's really commercial and well known, like say Le Freak, and it's usually the butt of a joke. Like somebody wants to give a great one-liner, and they'll say, well, I'm the most responsible person in the world. Just let me take a quick listen to my favorite record. Aw, freak out. And that's a good joke, so that's all they have to do is do aw, freak out, and people will laugh. Or I get something that's also played for laughs, but originally it wasn't. A couple of years ago, in Mission Impossible 3, there was a bit where Tom Cruise was trying to let them know that it was an inside job, and he has a little, I think it's like even a Sony Walkman, which is also a throwback, and he puts the Walkman up to the phone, and they're playing We Are Family, and the dude just looks back at the phone and goes, you gotta be kidding me, or something. So I actually like the fact that, and the only way that kind of
it's sort of just ingrained in culture, these songs now.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's why it works, is because it's so much a part of the pop culture that people get the joke. You don't have to explain it, because now a song like We Are Family is the ultimate family song. They play it at weddings and birthday parties and bar mitzvahs and stuff. So,
do you not get after I saw the gig last night? It was incredible. It's just like hit after hit after hit. But do you not get that desire to play new material in terms of this kind of the new Chic outfit?
Well,
because it's a different feeling you get, isn't it, when you're performing new music to performing a hit?
Yeah. The thing is, though, is that I really get to play new music. When you say play new music, you mean play it in front of people?
Yeah.
Those days are sort of behind me, if you will, because that's
your back catalogue is so vast that
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, I can add new songs to the show, and we did a 3-hour show once, and even after that 3-hour show, we had a ton of songs that we hadn't played yet. So I did a TV show in America a few weeks ago, and I played with the Roots, and we played Carly Simon's "Why," with Justin Timberlake. I was like, that was amazing to me, because even that's an old song, I've never played "Why" live. So I get to play music that I know and love and wrote, and I get to play it live every now and then, and that feels new. The other day, we finished a show, and it was just incredible. People were blown away, and they wanted more, and we just couldn't leave without playing more. So we played Notorious by Duran Duran. We haven't even rehearsed it. We just jammed it, and it sounded great. And then we played a couple of Chic instrumentals that we never get a chance to play, because typically the crowds just want to hear the popular songs. And we were shocked that when we played an instrumental, everybody responded.
Well, you played Spacer last night as well, which was unexpected, but again, great response. I mean, that's another song that was sampled and re-released, maybe 5-6 years ago.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Let's finally then, because we're pushed for time. What does the future hold for you then in terms of producing, touring? I mean, you've got the book now. I mean, what's next?
Yeah, well, the main thing is my main day job is that I run a record label in the States, and we put out video game soundtracks. That's what we specialize in. Matter of fact, we're the #1 company in the world that does that. Maybe a Japanese company would be bigger, but we're pretty big because we have a lot of Japanese titles. So, every year there's always some huge video game that come out, or a series of huge video games. I have Gears of War 3. I have all the cool stuff.
So what's brewing? What's the next new material we can hear coming out?
Well, here's something really cool, and I can't. It's unfortunately with video games, you are sworn to secrecy, and they would like sneak into my room in the middle of the night and kill me. But one of the hottest publishers I work with is a company called Bungie. And Bungie does Halo, and the next Bungie game is going to be the most amazing thing you have ever seen, and people are going to be shocked.
And when can we expect it? Do you know?
I don't know, but we were just talking about the soundtrack deal a few weeks ago.
Oh, so it's really early days.
Yeah. Well, no. It's video game companies. The good thing about them is that they have to really think in advance. So they were working on this well before I got wind of it 2 weeks ago. So we talked about doing the music, and they're talking about doing it very soon. So it's not going to be that far away, I would imagine. Well, I can't say anything because that would be putting out their business. But all I can say is that it's going to be great, and I'll have the soundtrack, and it's going to be something that pushes the envelope as far as integration of music into games and coming out to the public.
Okay. And the book is on sale now?
Yes, it's called Le Freak by Nile Rodgers.
Excellent. Nile Rodgers, thank you very much.